The lunchtime rush at the small-town KFC was in full swing. Families crowded booths, children laughed over chicken buckets, and the warm scent of crispy fries hung in the air. At a corner table sat the Parker family. James, a hard-working mechanic, with grease still under his nails. Lavra, a dedicated elementary school teacher, and their 10-year-old daughter, Mia. They were celebrating Mia's perfect math score with her favorite reward, extra crispy chicken. James reached for the mashed potatoes. Just as the front door opened, the room went still. In walked President Donald Trump, flanked by 2 Secret Service agents. Conversations dropped to whispers. Phones froze halfway out of pockets. There were no cameras, no press, just a man in a simple suit, no tie, looking oddly out of place and perfectly comfortable. At the same time, Trump gave a brief nod to the room and headed for the counter. Mia leaned closer to her dad. "Dad, is that really him?" James smiled awkwardly. "Looks like it," Lavra gently nudged him. "He's just a person." "Let's not stare." But Mia couldn't stop looking. Curiosity sparkled in her eyes. As Trump waited for his order, Mia slid out of the booth, clutching a warm biscuit. She walked straight up to him. "Hi," she said confidently. "We have lots of chicken. You can sit with us if you want." The Secret Service stiffened. Trump laughed, a genuine, surprised chuckle. "Well, that's very kind of you, young lady. What's your name?" "Mia," she said proudly. "And my mom says sharing food is the nicest thing you can do?" Trump glanced at her, then at her stunned parents. For a moment it looked like he might politely decline. Then he smiled. "You know what, Mia? I think I will." A ripple of whispers spread across the restaurant. Trump slid into the booth beside James, shaking his hand firmly. Lavra quickly snapped out of her shock and offered him a paper plate. Mia beamed like she'd just invited Santa Claus to lunch. "So," Trump asked, opening a packet of honey mustard, "what's the celebration?" "Mia aced her math test," Lavra said. "That's impressive," Trump replied. "Math keeps you sharp." "It's a language everyone understands." James hesitated, then spoke up. "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, why here? Why KFC in a town like ours?" Trump smiled. "Sometimes you just want good chicken without all the noise. Life doesn't always need to be fancy." Mia giggled and handed him a biscuit. "These are the best part." Around them, customers whispered and snapped discreet photos. Some wondered if it was staged. Others simply watched, curious. But Trump seemed focused only on the Parkers, listening as they talked about school events, small-town struggles, and keeping a family afloat. By the time the first bucket was empty, it felt like more than a meal. It felt like time shared, rare and meaningful. Trump leaned back. "Tell me, what's the hardest part about living here?" James sighed. "I work 2 jobs. Lavra teaches, but the pay's tough. Prices keep rising. Feels like we're always one paycheck away from trouble." Lavra nodded. "Some kids at school don't even have lunch money. We help where we can, but it's not enough." Mia added quietly, "Mom packs extra sandwiches sometimes. She says no kid should be hungry." Trump looked at Lavra with unexpected softness. "That's a good heart. The world needs more of that." The conversation deepened. Rent increases, medical bills, a school art program on the verge of being cut. Trump asked thoughtful questions. How many students? How much funding? What resources were missing? It didn't feel like talking to a president. It felt like talking to a neighbor who cared. Mia excitedly explained her dreams. "I want to be a teacher like Mom and a scientist on weekends." Trump laughed. Hi, Mia. You can be both." Outside, a small crowd gathered, faces pressed to the windows. Inside, an older man approached Carl, a retired veteran. "Sir," Carl said, "I don't agree with everything you say, but I respect you being here." Trump stood, shook his hand, and invited him to sit. Soon, nearby tables edged closer. Stories were shared: job losses, small victories, quiet hopes. Mia tugged Trump's sleeve. "Do you always listen this much?" He smiled. "The smartest people listen more than they talk." Then Mia asked, "If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?" Trump paused. I'd make sure every kid had the same chance no matter where they were born. He leaned closer. But change doesn't just come from presidents. It comes from people like your parents. And you? Mia grinned. Then, I'm going to help kids who don't have lunch money. That's how it starts, Trump said. Later, Trump stepped outside to take a call, glancing back through the window. When he returned, he scribbled something on a napkin and slid it. To James, call this person tomorrow, he said. Tell them we had lunch at KFC. James frowned. Sir, why? Trump smiled. Just trust me. As the meal ended, LeVar mentioned the school's outdated library. Trump nodded, filing it away. None of them knew yet, but that simple lunch, sparked by a child's kindness, was only the beginning. The crowd inside the restaurant had grown, yet the conversation at the booth felt strangely private. Despite subtle signals from his security team about the increasing attention, Trump didn't rush to leave. To the Parkers, he no longer felt like President Trump, just a man listening carefully, absorbing every word, quietly taking mental notes. Eventually, the agents insisted it was time. Trump stood and shook hands with everyone at the table. Then he knelt down to Mia's level. Keep being brave enough to talk to people, Mia, he said gently. Even presidents. She giggled. Only if they like chicken. Laughter rippled through the booth. Trump turned to James and Lavra. Remember, call that number tomorrow. The Parkers waved as he exited. The crowd outside erupting in cheers and camera flashes. On the drive home, James finally broke the silence. That was surreal. Lavra nodded, but her thoughts lingered on the napkin in James's pocket. Was it just a kind gesture or something more? That night, as Lavra tucked Mia into bed, she asked, Why did you invite him to sit with us? Mia shrugged. He looked like he didn't have anyone to eat with, and you always say no one should eat alone. Lavra kissed her forehead, realizing her daughter's simple kindness might have set something far bigger in motion. The next morning, James stared at the napkin over breakfast. This could be nothing, he said. Lavra slid the phone toward him. You'll regret it if you don't call. After a deep breath, James dialed. Office of Community Initiatives, a woman answered. This is Karen. James hesitated. President Trump told me to call. We had lunch yesterday at KFC. There was a brief pause. Yes, Mr. Parker. Karen said calmly. We've been expecting your call. Within minutes, she explained that Trump had requested an immediate review of school funding and small business support in their town. She asked detailed questions about Laura's school, James's shop, and the community's needs. Before ending the call, she promised follow-ups within days. James set the phone down, stunned. This is real. Lavra smiled through tears. He was listening the whole time. By midweek, word of the KFC lunch spread like wildfire. Some dismissed it as a publicity stunt. Others believed it was genuine. At Laura's school, teachers whispered excitedly, Is it true they're sending new books? James's auto shop filled with curious customers eager to hear the story firsthand. Mia shrugged when classmates questioned her. I just asked him to sit with us. Still, skepticism lingered. Politicians promise things all the time, people muttered. Don't get your hopes up. Then, 2 weeks later, a truck rolled up to Ridgewood Elementary. Boxes stamped with the seal of the U.S. Department of Education were unloaded hundreds of brand-new books, art supplies, and tablets. A letter accompanied the shipment. To the students of Ridgewood Elementary, never stop learning. Donald J. Trump. Laura stood in the library as children squealed over colorful covers, tears threatening to spill. Mia hugged a book tightly. Mom, she whispered. He remembered. Yes, sweetheart, LeVar said softly. He did. That afternoon, Karen called again. The White House has approved a small business grant program for your county. She said, Your shop will be among the first recipients. James nearly dropped the phone. You're serious? Mr. Trump said you reminded him of the families that keep America running. He wanted to make sure you had the tools to grow. James hung up and stared at Lavra. This is life-changing. Local news soon picked up the story. Headlines read, KFC lunch with Trump sparks change in small town. Lavra agreed to one interview, emphasizing that it all began with a child's Kindness. On television, Mia said shyly. I just didn't want him to eat alone. The clip went viral. Weeks later, a thick envelope arrived embossed with the presidential seal. Inside was a handwritten letter thanking the Parkers and inviting them to visit the White House. Mia squealed so loudly the neighbors heard. From fried chicken to the Oval Office, life, Lavar realized, was wildly unpredictable. In Washington, Mia pressed her face to the airplane window, eyes wide. They toured glowing monuments at night, James whispering, I never thought we'd be here. Kindness brought us, Lavara replied. The next day they entered the Oval Office. Trump grinned. Mia, my favorite dinner companion. They talked, laughed, reminisced. Mia proudly explained how bake sales had funded lunches for classmates all year. One meal can lead to many, Trump said. Later, he announced a new initiative inspired by a conversation over fried chicken focused on improving funding for underprivileged schools. Sometimes the biggest ideas, he said, come from the smallest tables. Before they left, Trump presented gifts, a gold-plated bookmark for Mia engraved Keep Reading, Keep Dreaming, a signed history book for Lavra, a custom wrench set for James. These aren't just gifts, Trump said. They're reminders that what you do matters. Back home, Ridgewood felt changed. The library thrived. James's shop grew. Mia's lunch project expanded. Neighbors helped neighbors. Kindness spread. At the school assembly, Mia said nervously, You don't have to be important to make a difference. You just have to invite someone to sit with you. The applause was loud, but the impact was louder. A year later, another letter arrived. Mia, I still remember your biscuit offer. You reminded me that leadership isn't about speeches. It's about sitting down and listening. Keep changing the world one table at a time. Lavra wiped her eyes. James hugged her. Mia smiled. I guess lunch really can change the world.